Hi, my name is Gabriel Thoth, and welcome to this mini masterclass. And today we are diving deep into something that I teach more deeply in my workshop, Tarot for Seekers. But this piece right here, it's where everything begins. If you've ever pulled a tarot card and just stared at it, waiting and hoping something would come through, but all you got was silence, then you are in the right place. This is for those moments when the intuition is not firing, when the pressure is really, really high and your mind just goes blank. You, my friend, are in the right place. Okay, so let's start here. You pull a card, you stare at it, and then nothing. Not one bit. You want to say something profound. You want to feel it in your body, but your mind just goes blank. And then comes the panic. Oh shit, what do I say now? I've been there many, many times. And I've been reading for a few years now. So first off, if that ever happened to you, you're not broken. You're not unintuitive. You're not disconnected. You, my friend, are just human. And this is exactly why I created the card method. Not as a spread, not as a script, but as a life raft for those exact moments when you feel like you're sinking in a reading. So what is the card method? CARD, card method. So basically, the card method is one of my most simplest yet highly efficient methods that I always use whenever I go blank in a reading. It works, even when your intuition feels like it doesn't. You can use it for one-card readings, for full spreads, client sessions, and even in your own personal rituals. Now, without further ado, let's walk through it together. In this method, CARD is actually an acronym. Now, the first one's letter C. So basically, when you're reading for yourself or when you're reading for others and your mind just goes blank, you just got to remember the word card. And the first letter of the word card is letter C, which stands for context. First, your context. This is your energetic starting point. Before you decode the card, you got to ask yourself, what is the question? And if there isn't one, do not panic. I've experienced some querents or some clients, they come in silent, either out of just curiosity, resistance, or some might want to test your ability. And in those cases, do not beg for clarity. That's just one good way to take the magic out of the session. If there's no specific question, then read the present moment as the question. Feel the emotional atmosphere and ask, what energy is this person carrying right now? Or what is life trying to bring to light through this reading? Even if your client or your querent is not saying their questions out loud, remember that you as their tarot reader, you're not just reading the card. You're also reading the field. So when you use the card method, the first thing you got to remember or you got to ask is, what is the context? And context is basically the most important thing when entering a reading. If information is limited, don't make that stop you from giving your client or your querent an amazing reading. Ask yourself, what is the intention of this reading? And as a tarot reader, you got to remember that not all readings are all about answers. Some are actually more about insights. Some are about healing. Some readings are more about permission. Learn to feel what the querent or your client is really asking beneath the surface. Whether it's emotionally or spiritually, you got to ask, are they guarded? Are they grieving? Are they empowered but seems just to be unclear? Context in this method is your compass. It aligns you with the soul of the reading. Without context, my dude, you are shooting in the dark. Okay, so let's say someone asks you, should I leave my job? And then let's say the Hermit shows up. In a vacuum, this card might say to be alone or to go inward or to isolate yourself. But in the context of a burnout, this exact same card might try to tell you to just step away for a bit or to regroup or to find yourself. You're being called inward to realign before your next chapter begins. In one angle, this card might tell you to leave your job, to find another job, but in a different angle, it might just tell you to hold on and try to understand what it is you're actually feeling before making a decision. You see the difference? This same card can tell wildly different things, wildly different stories, depending on where it lands. Now, that is the power of context. All right, so now we go into letter A. A stands for attention or awareness. This is the moment you stop trying to interpret and just notice where your attention is leading you. Where does your attention go? What is standing out? Is it the lantern behind this man? Or is it the snow? Or is it the posture of the subject? Or is it a shadow in the corner? I am very sure that when you start pulling out cards and start reading the card, either the card that you pulled out for yourself or for your client, your eyes will land on something first. And whatever it is, it's not random. That is your portal. That is your starting point. So maybe today, the lantern hits you hardest. You might say, oh, there's a light here somewhere. Even if things feel isolated right now, you're still being guided because you have a lamp to guide you forward, to guide you through the dark. Boom. That is awareness turning into intuition. So you don't need a download from the heavens. You just need to trust what your attention is already showing you and what your attention is trying to make you aware of. You need to trust what your attention is already showing you. Your noticing is sacred. And if you're really serious of starting a path with tarot, then one of the first things you should know is that there's never a coincidence. Coincidences does not exist for a tarot reader. All that exists for us as tarot readers are patterns waiting to be interpreted. All right. Now we go into the third letter. And the third letter is R. This stands for reflection. Now comes the reflection. Literally, like a mirror's reflection. This is where the card becomes a mirror. When you reach the part of reflecting, you got to ask yourself, what is this card reflecting back to me or the querent or your client? What emotional truth or internal state is being shown here? What part of their story is this image quietly echoing? So again, let's go back to the Hermit. So maybe this card, the Hermit, reflects that this person or the one you're reading, the person you're reading, has already been in isolation for way too long. Or maybe they're scared to withdraw, even though their spirit is calling them inwards. Reflection isn't always obvious. It may not match the surface of someone's life, but it will ring true deeper down. That's why you don't rush. You listen. When you're reading the tarot, you're not making prediction. You are interpreting the resonance. The Hermit isn't just about solitude. It's showing how the querent or your client is relating to their solitude right now. That is where the insight lives. All right, so now we are at the last letter. And the last letter in card is letter D, which stands for direction. This is the forward movement, or backwards, or sideways. Now that you've seen the reflection, now you got to ask yourself, now what? This is a time in which you ask yourself, what is the tarot inviting my client or my querent into? Is the tarot inviting my client or even myself, if I'm reading for myself? Is the tarot inviting me or the person that I'm reading towards a breakthrough? Or is the tarot trying to lead them towards boundaries? Or perhaps a shift in perspective? In our Hermit example, maybe the direction is pause now. But no, this is a sacred pause. You're not lost, you're aligning. Direction doesn't always look like action. Sometimes it's trust. Sometimes it's integration. Sometimes it is the permission to feel what has been avoided. Card always points the way. It doesn't always show the destination, but that's enough. Because clarity isn't about knowing the whole map. It's about sensing what the right next step is. I've always been a believer that you don't need a full spread to get deep insights. As long as you have the right questions to ask, you will always get good answers. And something that I always teach in my tarot workshops is that to get intelligent answers, you need to ask intelligent questions. So try it now. Pull a card and walk it through the card method. Number one, what is the context today? What's my mood, my need, my inquiry? And if there's no clear question, the context becomes whatever energy you're dealing with, whatever energy is most present and resonant right now. Learn how to gently tune into someone's energy, into someone's presence, and ask, what is showing up in the field between us? This is where the tarot becomes intuitive, not psychic, just attuned. Next question is, where does my eye go first on this card? This is the power of attention becoming awareness. What is your attention trying to lead you into? Don't explain it, just observe it. This is the entry point for your intuition. Then you just got to learn how to trust whatever your intuition pulls out. And then we go into reflection. What about this card? What does this card reflects to me in my life or in my querent's life? This is the power of reflecting. You got to reflect. You're not trying to analyze. You're trying to see yourself, or you're trying to see who you're reading for through the card. And then you can ask yourself, what emotional truth is this card trying to reveal? What is this showing me about how I'm moving through the day or moving through my current life journey? So now that you've reflected on the card and you've seen yourself or your client, your querent through this card, now the direction. That's one of the most important things about this method. You got to learn where to direct your client or yourself next, where you should lead them into. This is basically how the tarot guides us through our lives. Without direction, what's the point of having a reading? So when you're at letter D, which is direction, what direction is this card pointing me or the person that I'm reading for toward? This is direction. The question now becomes, what wants to move? What wants to be accepted or expressed? What needs to be released or what needs to be chosen? Is this card a nudge forward or is it a whisper to rest? Is it a confrontation with the truth? You don't need the final answer. You just gotta know the next movement. And that is the card method. So at this point, you're now fully ready, well equipped to start using the card method to deepen the way you read the tarot in your private sessions. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned reader or someone who gets stuck in silence, this method will always meet you where you are. It transformed the reading from what does this card mean to what is this card showing me right now? That shift alone will change your entire practice. And this is just one out of the many tools that I teach inside my workshop, Tarot for Seekers. My workshop for readers who doesn't just want to read cards, but actually live the path the tarot reveals. In my workshop, Tarot for Seekers, we explore things like answering yes or no questions clearly, reading the past, present, and future like a timeline of the soul, decoding the minor arcana like a pro, or using court cards not just for personalities, but for understanding your evolving inner archetype, and so much more. The workshop is always open. Sometimes I teach it live, sometimes it's on demand, but the space is timeless, just like the tarot. So once again, my name is Gabriel Thoth, and I hope you got something valuable from this video, and I hope to see you in my workshops or in my private sessions.